Ethan crouched near the colony's water purification unit, wiping sweat from his brow. The humid air of Planet Aquara 5 clung to his skin, and the constant drip of condensation from the ceiling made the air feel heavier than usual. He had worked on human colonies across several star systems, but this planet's constant humidity always reminded him that life outside Earth was never easy. Still, the human colonies were known for their ingenuity and resilience, and Ethan took pride in being part of the team keeping them alive. As he tightened a loose panel on the purification system, a strange sound made him freeze. It wasn't mechanical, no grinding gears, no hissing pipes. This was soft, almost like a whisper, accompanied by a faint splashing noise. "Hello?" Ethan called, straightening up. "Is someone there?" The splashing grew louder. From the shadows near the storage area, a figure emerged. Ethan blinked. At first, he thought his eyes were playing tricks on him. Standing before him was a creature that looked like it belonged to a planet entirely covered in oceans. She was humanoid, with smooth, shimmering skin that seemed to reflect the dim light like liquid silver. Her hair flowed down past her shoulders in long, wet strands, moving as if it had a life of its own. Her eyes, large and round, glimmered like the surface of a calm sea under starlight, and she was soaked, completely drenched from head to toe. Ethan's first thought was that she had fallen into the water tanks. But even as he considered that, he realized there was no obvious way she could have gotten there. Are you okay?" he asked, unsure if she would even understand him. The alien looked at him nervously. She raised her hand slightly, palms open, and a soft melodic voice came from her. It wasn't in any human language he knew. Ethan felt a pang of worry. He didn't have a universal translator on him tonight, just a small comlink for emergencies. She stepped closer, shivering, and Ethan noticed she was trembling, not from fear alone, but from the cold that soaked her body. Her clothes clung tightly, heavy with water, and she looked extremely uncomfortable. I should help her," he muttered to himself. Quickly, he grabbed a thick blanket from the supply closet. "Here," he said, holding it out. "You can wrap this around yourself." The alien hesitated, then took the blanket with delicate, wet fingers. As she wrapped herself, Ethan could see her relief, though her eyes still reflected worry. He knew that being wet in this cold artificial environment could be dangerous for her. "Do you need a warm place?" Ethan asked. He stepped back and gestured to the nearby maintenance room. "It's dry, heated. You can sit there." Slowly she nodded, and for a moment she seemed almost human in her vulnerability. Ethan's human instincts kicked in. He had always believed that helping others, no matter what species, was the right thing to do. As she shuffled toward the maintenance room, Ethan felt a surge of curiosity. He had never seen a species like her before. From the shimmer of her skin to the way she moved, she was entirely unlike any alien humans had encountered. Her species was clearly aquatic, built for swimming and living in water-rich environments. But what was she doing here away from her home? Once inside the maintenance room, Ethan turned on a small heater and set up a temporary drying station. He gathered towels, blankets, and a basin of warm water, improvising as best as he could. The alien sat quietly on a bench, her long hair dripping into the basin he had set up, forming ripples across the surface. "Okay, I'm Ethan," he said, trying to break the silence. I think you need to warm up. Maybe wash off a little, get comfortable." He paused, realizing he had no idea if she would even understand his words. The alien tilted her head, her eyes studying him curiously. She pointed to the basin, then to herself, in a gesture that seemed to indicate she understood. Ethan smiled, relieved. Small victories, he thought. Communication might be possible after all. Carefully, he filled another basin with warm water, adding a few soft sponges he found. "I'll help," he said gently. "It'll be okay." She nodded once quietly. Her skin, still slick with water, shimmered under the light as she cautiously moved closer. Ethan guided her gently, showing her how to dip the sponge into the warm water and clean herself. She mimicked his actions, still shy but curious. Watching her, Ethan couldn't help but marvel at how different her physiology was. She had gills along the sides of her neck, delicate and almost transparent, moving rhythmically even outside of water. Her fingers were webbed slightly, perfect for swimming. And yet she was learning, adapting, following his human instructions with remarkable precision. As he helped her, Ethan's mind raced. How had she come here? Was she lost? Did she come willingly or was she forced? There were so many questions, but he knew that right now the most important thing was keeping her safe. "Do you have a name?" he asked, trying again to connect. She hesitated, then whispered something in her language. Ethan couldn't understand it, but the tone sounded like a soft hum. He decided to call her Lyra for now, a name that seemed to suit her fluid movements and delicate presence. Hours passed as Ethan patiently helped Lyra dry off, teaching her to adapt to the dry, warm environment. They communicated slowly with gestures and simple words. He realized that humans had a natural ability to teach, to guide, and to comfort, a skill no machine or alien technology could easily replicate. Lyra began to relax. She smiled faintly, showing him a few alien teeth that glimmered faintly in the light. Ethan felt a strange warmth in his chest. Humans were known for compassion, for rising to challenges that seemed impossible. And here, in this tiny maintenance room on a distant water planet, that trait had just made a difference in the life of another species. By the time the heater hummed softly in the background, and the room smelled faintly of warm water and clean sponges, Lyra was no longer shivering. Her hair, now partially dried, still shimmered like liquid silver. She looked at Ethan, eyes wide, and raised her hands in a gesture that seemed like a mix of thanks and curiosity. Ethan smiled. "You're safe now," he said simply. "Tomorrow we can figure out more. But for tonight, just rest." Lyra nodded, then curled up on a blanket. Even though she didn't speak his language, Ethan felt she trusted him. And that, he realized, was a human strength. To offer help, to provide safety and warmth, even to someone from a completely different world. He turned off the lights, leaving the heater on low. As he stepped out of the maintenance room, he looked back at Lyra, her figure resting peacefully. "Humans, we just can't help ourselves," he murmured to himself with a small smile. Outside, the colony's corridors were quiet. The night sky shimmered above Aquara 5, reflecting off the water-rich surface below. Ethan knew that life on distant planets was never simple. But he also knew that humans had a way of turning challenges into triumphs, not through weapons or technology alone, but through empathy, courage, and ingenuity. Tonight, he had helped a creature no one else would have understood, and somehow in doing so he felt a sense of pride that was bigger than anything he had felt back on Earth. Humanity was extraordinary, and this was just the beginning. Little did Ethan know the arrival of Lyra would not only change the course of his night, but the fate of the entire colony. She carried secrets about her species, about the oceans of her home planet, and about dangers that humans had never faced before. But for now, she was safe, and that was enough. Ethan sat in the corridor for a moment, taking in the quiet hum of the colony's life support systems. The stars above seemed brighter than usual. He felt ready to face whatever came next, because humans had a way of doing the impossible. And tomorrow would bring the first true test of that humanity. Morning light filtered through the reinforced glass of Aquara 5's human colony, casting long, silver reflections on the wet floors. Ethan arrived early at the maintenance room, careful not to make noise. He had spent the night thinking about Lyra. Something about her presence, so fragile yet intelligent, had struck a chord deep in him. The door creaked slightly as he opened it. Lyra was awake, sitting on a folded blanket. Her skin still shimmered faintly in the morning light, and her hair, though damp, flowed around her shoulders like liquid silver. She looked at him, and for the first time she made a sound that resembled laughter, soft, musical, and curious. Ethan smiled, holding up a hand. "Good morning, Lyra. Sleep well?" She tilted her head and hummed, a sound he guessed meant yes. Humans had the advantage of being able to read body language and tone, and Ethan relied on it heavily now. "Okay," he said, walking closer. "We need to warm you up properly and clean your hair. You stayed wet too long yesterday. It could get dangerous." Lyra blinked at him, a mix of uncertainty and trust in her eyes. She didn't speak his language, but she understood gestures. Ethan fetched warm water from the colony's purification system and filled a basin. The water smelled faintly mineral, slightly sweet but safe. "See?" he said, dipping a sponge. "This is warm. You can wash safely. I'll help." Lyra hesitated, then slowly extended her hand. Ethan smiled, gently guiding her. She dipped the sponge in the water and began touching her hair and skin. Ethan showed her how to wring the sponge gently, and how to let water drip into the basin instead of all over the floor. As he worked, he noticed how remarkable her physiology was. Her gills moved rhythmically as if sensing the warm water around her. Even though she was far from her home planet, designed for vast oceans, she adapted quickly. Ethan was impressed. Humans might not be naturally aquatic, but our ability to improvise and learn in new environments was extraordinary. Good. Very good, Ethan encouraged. He kept his tone calm, soft, and patient. Humans had a way of comforting others without words, and he relied on that now. Lyra responded with small nods, dipping the sponge repeatedly, following his guidance. After a while, Ethan retrieved a soft towel and carefully began drying her. Her skin glimmered as he patted her down gently. Lyra's initial shyness faded. She seemed more relaxed than yesterday, though she still glanced around nervously. "Lyra," Ethan said, pointing at her. "This is your name. You can use it. With me." She repeated the sound hesitantly, a strange musical approximation of Lyra. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. Ethan felt a thrill of success. He had always believed humans had the ability to bridge gaps between worlds. Here was proof. Once she was mostly dry, Ethan led her to a small chair. He handed her a glass of water. She sniffed it, curious, then drank carefully. Humans survived on liquid water, yes, but we also had the knowledge to make it safe for all species. That knowledge, combined with empathy, was a hallmark of humanity. Lyra watched him drink his own water and then nodded, imitating him. The connection was small, simple, yet it was progress. Ethan knew he couldn't just stop here. Trust required patience, time, and demonstration of goodwill. He decided to spend the day helping her adjust to the colony. "Let's explore a little," he said. He gestured to the corridor, showing her how to walk carefully on dry surfaces. Lyra followed, her movements graceful, almost floating. Every step she took reminded Ethan of her home oceans, gliding through water rather than walking on solid ground. As they moved through the colony, Ethan pointed out objects, systems, and signs. He wanted her to understand that humans could be trusted, that we valued life and comfort, not just efficiency. Lyra listened, or at least observed carefully. Every gesture she made reflected curiosity and careful attention. By midday, Ethan decided it was time to feed her. The colony's kitchens prepared meals for humans, but Ethan improvised. He created a small tray with water-based nutrients and soft, edible gels, suitable for her aquatic physiology. Lyra sniffed cautiously but began eating when Ethan demonstrated. "See?" he said, smiling. "Safe, nutritious. You will be okay." Lyra looked up at him, eyes wide, and made another melodic sound. This one seemed like laughter or maybe approval. Ethan grinned. He realized humans had an advantage in patience and teaching, skills that could save lives and forge friendships across species. Afternoon came with a small challenge. A sudden alarm rang in the colony. Ethan glanced at the control panel. The water circulation system had a minor leak. Normally, he would rush to fix it alone, but now he realized he might need Lyra's help. She had knowledge of aquatic systems far beyond his own. "Lyra," he said, pointing at the panel, "help me here." She tilted her head, hesitant at first, but then she approached, touching the screen. Her hands glowed faintly as sensors on the panel detected her bioenergy. Ethan watched in amazement. She seemed to understand the flow of water and pressure intuitively. "You can do this," Ethan said, almost whispering. Humans had a way of encouraging others, instilling confidence. Lyra nodded, working carefully. Together, they identified the leak and stopped it before any serious damage occurred. Ethan's heart swelled. Humans could innovate, lead, and inspire trust. Here he was, collaborating with a species entirely unknown to human science, and together they achieved something remarkable. After the crisis, Ethan led Lyra back to the maintenance room. He set up a drying area again, letting her rest while he repaired minor damage to the system. Lyra watched quietly, her eyes reflecting admiration and curiosity. Humans, she seemed to think, were clever, capable, and brave. By evening, Ethan decided to introduce her to the colony's small recreational area. He showed her how humans played simple games, how they socialized, and how humor could lighten fear. Lyra observed, her eyes sparkling, imitating gestures hesitantly. Ethan laughed softly at her attempts, careful not to scare her. "You see," he said, "humans are not perfect, but we try. And we care. That's what makes us strong." Lyra tilted her head, humming in a way that sounded almost like agreement. She began to follow his example, learning by observation. Humans had a gift for teaching through demonstration. That gift, Ethan realized, could bridge worlds. Night fell again. Ethan helped Lyra back to the maintenance room, where she settled onto a clean blanket. Her trust in him had grown significantly since yesterday. She allowed him to help her adjust the blanket, showing a small smile that made Ethan's chest warm. "Rest now," he said softly. "Tomorrow we can learn more. But for tonight, just sleep." As he stepped out, Ethan glanced back. Lyra's eyes, half closed in relaxation, reflected the lights of the colony like calm pools. He realized that humans had a unique power, the ability to comfort, to guide, and to make even the most alien being feel safe. And tomorrow, he knew, would bring more challenges. Lyra had secrets about her species and her planet, and soon those secrets would intersect with the life of the colony. But for now, they had achieved the first step: trust. And that, Ethan knew, was a human strength. Humans could survive harsh worlds, repair broken systems, and adapt to extreme conditions. But more importantly, they could extend kindness and understanding to others. That simple quality had just saved a life, and perhaps would save many more in the days to come. As he walked back to his quarters, Ethan looked at the night sky, shimmering over Aquara 5's oceans. Humanity had reached distant stars, built colonies, and faced dangers most species would never survive. And yet the greatest strength remained: the ability to help others, to teach, and to inspire trust. Lyra, the wet alien maid, had come to him in need. And in responding, Ethan had shown why humans could thrive anywhere: on land, in space, or across worlds unknown. For both of them, this was only the beginning.